Good evening, everyone. It's Sunday night. It's on the ball. The weather's cooled down a bit. And actually, this is obviously going out live on YouTube, on Twitter, or the artist formerly known, or X, or the artist formerly known as Twitter, and on Facebook simultaneously. And will also go out on the Always Wolves podcast. And as it happens, this is why Sutty's wearing the bright yellow today, to celebrate the 300th episode of the Always Wolves podcast. And we also have a debutant in George as well. So, glad to have you joining us. Let us know where you're watching for. Oh, it's already on. Look, Sutty, you legend. And they're already on. Before we get started, I do want to say, of course, a massive, big thank you to Creation Wolf, because Creation Wolf, they basically support the weekend shows, and they're a brilliant local company delivering the industry's latest and most advanced digital solutions that take your brand online and digital presence capability to the next level. Their website, if you're listening, is creationwolf.com. And they did the little intro for us. So that's how good they are. If you saw the intro at the start, they do that sort of stuff. And it's pretty damn cool, I like to think. Now, in this particular video, we are going to be talking, as always, about the week that's just gone. So we're going to be looking at the USA Tour. Has it been a success? Has it not? Pluses and minuses. We'll tap a little bit into the Palace game. We'll talk a lot about the RB Leipzig game from last night, which I think was a more relevant game. To Sutty's joy, we'll talk about the black kit. We'll talk about transfers and more, but also we'll be getting stuck into some players that have come back. Chiquinho, the impact that Rodrigo Gomes has been made, and also Yerson Mosquera and that back line, because it looks like that Gary O'Neill is going to be going with the back four. We're literally 13 days away. What? Could you hear me then?
No.
No, mate, I thought I was going to have to jump in and house on my debut for a second.
Listen, guys, I'm sorry about that. We were just literally, I was chatting away and I wasn't even on the stage. So, technical gremlins that came in there. I was just saying that this week, we're going to be talking about the USA Tour. We're going to be talking about how successful that's been. Good, the plus points, the negative points, the positives, the not so much. We're going to be delving into the matches this week, Crystal Palace, but more so Leipzig, because I think that's more of a relevant game to see what Wolves are going to be like. To Sutty's joy, we're going to be looking at the black kit, what people have said about that, what we're thinking about that, and getting your views on that a few days after. Obviously, transfers, much more, including the back line, the back four, how that's been thing. Yerson Mosquera, especially Rodrigo. Gomes, the impact that he made. So, Sutty, how are you feeling? I'm loving the top. Very bright. I think yellow definitely suits you, mate.
I can't make my mind up yet, Dave, whether it does or not. So I'll let you lot decide.
Yeah, so basically, guys, let us know what you think of Sutty. What's the brand of that you got again? It's a nice brand, and it's smart.
Paul and Shark.
Paul and Shark, the brand is. So like we've got a few people in the chat here. We've got Pamela's from Spain. Carl says hit the likes. Yeah, let's the YouTube and Facebook and X know that you're enjoying it. Alan's in Bilston. So we've got everyone all over. And George, now, if you don't know who George is, put your mic on, George. George is the new senior writer on alwayswolves.co.uk. George basically has a passion for writing deep dive athletic style articles. You can find all of his stuff on the Always Wolves website. Loads of great content, deep dive stuff, and proving to be very, very popular. George, it's your full debut. How you doing?
I'm all right, mate. I wish I'd have got the memo that you got to wear your best t-shirt though.
Well, I see. You've got
I've let the tea know now.
Yeah, you've gone the dark side, and Sutty's gone for the light side. And I'm kind of in the middle, bit beige, I think, and everything. JS96 says, liking the polo, Sutty mucker lad, pal. So yeah, that's going well. Rick Reacts said it's dope, Sutty, it suits you. So fantastic. Right, let's get stuck in then. Sutty, let's start off with you. Let's start off with the USA tour. Wolves obviously have been over in the USA now for a couple of weeks. I believe they've not long landed back in London. I saw, I think it was Gemma Freef Instagram with a picture of London. So I think they've landed back. What have you made of the USA tour? They've been over there, as I say, for a couple of weeks, played 3 games. Very hot and humid conditions. Had a few thunderstorms. Played some good quality opposition. 13 days out from the start of the Premier League. What's your positives and negatives that you take out of that?
Well, I think it's quite well known within our group chat that it's unlike me to be critical of anything, obviously, Dave, but a bit critical of travelling halfway around the world to play friendlies, but this is the game we have today. Unfortunately, they're expected to go here, there, and everywhere to promote the club and play in these tournaments. Where the sensible thing, if you wanted a really good, so I've just seen that comment.
Chris. That's cheerful, Chris. For those of you that don't know.
The sensible thing to do from footballing terms would be play 3 Spanish sides or something like that in Spain with just a 2-hour flight there and back. But it's not like that anymore, Dave. They go to Spain, then they go to America. I've not stayed up till 3 in the morning to watch these games. I've watched extended highlights. And in all 3 games, we've looked pretty good, to be honest. There's very good points to take from them. There's players come back. And the players that have come back, we'll talk about the new signings in a minute, have all actually looked like they want to be here. That includes the likes of Gedesh. Now, Gedesh, I thought, has actually played like he wants to stay here. And if you can get anything out of the lad, if you get a song out of the lad, we were all raving about him 2 years ago, weren't we? That we've signed this £27 million player that was outstanding in Spain. But as we all know, it's very difficult to settle in this country. It might be the best league in the world, but let's be honest. Barcelona, Madrid, Wolverhampton, slightly different culture there, Dave. Slightly different weather. So it will take time to settle. And if the lad comes back and he puts a shift in, and he's probably got a manager now who's actually put his arm around him, not Bruno Lage. Because we all know Bruno Lage wasn't a man management type of bloke, manager. So, but we know that Gary O'Neill certainly is. Although I still do say I think he has got a bit of a ruthless side to him if needs be. But they've all played well, even in the defeat to Palace. I'm not so sure. We've been a bit naive, really. That weren't a 3-1 drubbing by any stretch of the imagination. I think we played the better football. We played some great football last night, reminiscent of a goal we scored against Cardiff in our first season back in the Premier League at Molineux when Jota scored at the end of about 35 passes. where we just ripped them to bits. It all looks good. It looks fresh. My only worry is going to a back four. I think we could well get caught out every now and then.
Well, we saw that, didn't we, against Crystal Palace? There's,
Yeah.
I know it was a different back four, and the Palace game we started a much weaker side. And like you said, we played reasonably well, but we were a bit naive a couple of times. I mean, the first goal was Bentley's mistake, really. I mean, he kicked it straight to the guy, and it was a good finish from a distance, but it was an empty net. And the second goal was just a long hoof ball. And
you should be able to deal with them, Dave, shouldn't you? Yeah. That's. Let's be honest. These are basics. Bentley should be clearing his lines, and it be going way. If he's going to smack it over the halfway line. They're not going to score from there very often, are they? And then the long ball, you've got caught napping there. And as we all know in the Premier League, you can't afford to get caught napping, because you will face better opposition than this in the Premier League. I know two of them are out the Premier League, but there are better teams than them, and they will get caught out if they're not on it all the time. The only another positive I will say is we know full well that if this doesn't work, because he's going to go over back four at Arsenal. If it doesn't work, we know that we're bloody good with a back three and two wing backs. So I think we could revert in games as well. We could switch it really easy. Now, if they've had a full pre-season of playing a back four, then that can only be a positive, because you've got two avenues to explore there for any given team, really.
Well, that's something that we didn't have last year, because he came in and, he's having a chance to have a full pre-season. George, over to you. The last couple of weeks, the USA tour, we're not going to delved particularly into one of the games right now. We'll go and break that down in a bit. But the tour as a whole for you, you've heard what Sutty's had to say with his analysis and stuff like that. What's your positives and negatives that's come out of the tour, and what are your takeaways? Do you agree with Sutty? Have you got some extra things that you can throw in? The observation?
I'll second a lot of what Sutty said, to be honest. I think the one thing for me is that I'm always one of these who's like, right, I don't get excited about pre-season. Whether we play well, whether we don't, it's about going through the motions, getting the fitness up, trying things out. But that Leipzig performance, it's hard not to be excited about that, to be honest. And that third goal was just incredible. But just in general, I mean, Rodrigo Gomes looks absolutely sensational, doesn't he? It's exciting. I think with the four at the back, the one thing that I'm most interested from pre-season is, I know we're going to come to him a little bit later on, is Mosquera. Because when Arsenal rolls around, I do still think that it'll be Dawson in there, despite how good Mosquera's looked in pre-season. And I did a little ride for Mosquera, and I think he will come into the first team. But I don't know. I thought I'd throw it out to you two in a minute. Do you think it will be Dawson and Totti back in there, just for that tried and tested, despite how good Mosquera's looked? Yeah, I think with the Palace game, 3-1, it flattered them, didn't it? At the end of the day, I think we had two goals ruled out in the first half, and just we looked exactly almost as good as we looked against Leipzig, despite the difference in results. But going forward, the fluidity was just insane, something that we haven't seen for many a season, to be honest. I think it was Dave Edwards on the commentary that I was listening to. He said, I think that's the best Wolves goal I've ever seen in my life. And you know what? I was racking my brain. Obviously, we got but as a team goal sort of thing. And it's hard to disagree. The way we were moving the ball, but Rodrigo Gomes just looked central to everything. I'm just really surprised, actually. I thought he'd be coming in, he'd be sort of bedded into the team, he'd slowly come in, find his place. But it looks like he's literally going to take it by storm. And what did we pay? 12 million? 12.7 million?
Yeah,
I
it's good,
mean,
but great bit of business.
he just looks, he's looked incredible in pre-season. I know you talked about it a bit last week as well. I do still think we need another centre-back. I know that a lot of people are looking at the 4 that we've got and saying that's enough, especially if we're going to go 4 at the back. But like Sutty said, I think we still need one more just in case we want to switch it back up to the 3-5 at the back. I think we're going to need another one. I think Gary's come out this week and said that he wants someone with a little bit of Premier League experience. And going beyond that, do we need much more? I'd say not really from what we've seen in pre-season, but we do probably just need that extra centre back in there, just to give us that versatility to the 4, to the 5. One thing that really worries me is we've tried starting the season at 4 at the back in the past couple of seasons, haven't we? And we've played. If you think back to the last 2 seasons, think back to the start, how well, even under Bruno, when we kept losing, but we were playing so well, attacking fluid football, but we weren't getting the results. It was similar this season.
We weren't putting the ball in the net.
Exactly. And then it was the same season.
And then we kept getting beat 1-0, if you remember.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what's worrying me a little bit about this. I mean, if we go 4 at the back again, fine. Absolutely fine. I think it allows us to play a little more attacking football. And we've seen how fluid it can be in pre-season. But then if you look at our opening 5 or 6 fixtures, I think we've got Arsenal in there, Chelsea in there, Villa in there, Newcastle in there, Liverpool in there. So
we've got
things
as well.
I think we've got Forest.
The first 9 fixtures are tough.
Yeah. So my biggest worry would be on that is that we try the 4 at the back, we're playing that attacking football, and then teams just do a job on us, like we've seen in the past. And then 5 or 6 games, maybe we start to panic a little bit. We've got one or a few points on the board. We're not where we want to be. It all starts to turn a little bit sour, and we think, right, we're playing, I don't know, Newcastle this week. Let's shut it down and churn out a result. Let's get a 1-0, a 2-1. And then can't you take that back step then, and that sort of momentum's going. You think, well, this is getting you the results. And at the end of the day, it's that results-based business, as we always say, isn't it? But I just hope that we get the rewards come the start of the season for the football we've been playing and the football that it looks like Gary O'Neill wants to play. I hope that we can hit the ground running, get the rewards for that, so we continue to play that way and not sort of revert back to churning out the results. But I think time will tell with that one.
Yeah, I mean, coming back on both of your points on that, I completely get that a few people have said about going over to the USA. It's a long way to go. It's very, very humid, very hot. There's been games that have been disrupted by the weather. I mean, even last night we had 2 deluges. I mean, I did love the fans in the stands they were joyful. They embraced it, tops off, singing the song and stuff over and into Miami. And obviously Kuna picked up that minor injury. Hopefully he'll be back. Gary didn't want to risk him. And I don't think it was necessarily the weather or the pitch that caused the issues, because it was rolling. But they are finely tuned athletes. They prep for a start of a game. And then if it's delayed, it's kind of like it can cause an issue. And maybe that did cause an issue with Cunha, because he looked good when he was playing. And don't forget, we've played without Cunha. And for majority, we've played without Semedo, Neto, Sarr, and Gomes as well. The first impressions that I got, and I talked about it last week, the first game against West Ham that I watched, it was late. I had to talk for an hour and a half and do a quiz until we started the match. The first 10 minutes of that game against West Ham, I was saying to Emma, I was like, who is this team? The way they pressed, the way they tenacious, the way they chased down and turned over the ball. that was something I've not been used to seeing from Wolves. They were, tenacious against Crystal Palace, and they turned the ball over, and obviously they scored 3 good goals. Against Palace, like what Sutty said, they kind of started the same sort of way, even though the personnel, and I said at the start of that game, Wolves have got one eye on Leipzig. That's where you'll start to see the team and the shape a lot more against Leipzig than we would against Palace. But like we were for long periods decent against Palace, especially the first 20 minutes. And then we kind of lost a little bit of shape, a little bit of our way. Palace scored. We were chasing the game, and I thought we scored a good goal at the end. The last 10 minutes, it started to look good. It was a good goal, a good move from Jürgen Strand-Larsen, who brought the ball back, and we finished it. And then obviously we got caught on the counter, which was a sucker goal really for 3-1. But Palace are a good side. Let's for it. They're the form team of the Premier League. They did West Ham again last night, and J-Lo, I'm telling you now, he'll be gone from West Ham by Christmas if he carries on at this rate, because he's not getting the results. I know it's pre-season, so we'll see. But last night, you saw the starting lineup, and I thought it was really interesting that he started with Yerson, Mosquera and Sutty Gomes in the middle of a back four. Obviously, he had Ryan Ait-Nouri on there, and he played Doherty. And I didn't expect any of the 3 Portuguese internationals or Joe Gomes to start the game, because they only started training on Monday, but they did come back on at the end, and we saw a bit of quality from them when they did come on, especially from Pedro Neto. But defensively, I thought, and I met Yerson Mosquera a couple of weeks ago at SUDU. He's a really tall lad. He's not built strong, but he's incredibly athletic. Looking at him, he's lean, he's quick. And I've been so impressed with how comfortable he seems in the back four. And Sutty Gomes alongside him looked comfortable as well. And the 1 or 2 times when they did get in, they were quick enough to make tackles to snuff it out. They were fast enough to react to it. And the other thing that I don't know if you noticed as well, although we're playing with this back four, in the first half when Mario Lemina was playing, he was playing quarterback and dropping. They were splitting, and he was dropping into the middle, picking the ball up, either moving it forward or spreading the play out. And when Tommy Doyle replaced Mario Lemina in the second half, he was doing exactly the same, dropping into a 3, dropping into a quarterback position, so that, and picking the ball up and then moving it forward. And I quite like that. And I loved the way that the second goal was the first goal that we scored last night against Leipzig. It's Mario Lemina in his own box that's stopped it. It's picked up by Bellegarde. Bellegarde's run 30 yards through the middle of the pitch. He's knocked it over. The ball's come across. And okay, Sarabia tried to volley it. He kind of mishit it. But as happens, the defender tried to block it, and it's gone in. The second goal was a really good move again, which I thought it was unlucky for Jürgen Strand-Larsen that he hit the post, but Sarabia was on hand again, reacted really quickly and finished it. And the third goal, the way we scored that goal, how we played it away, the one touch interchange overlapping passes in triangles that we brought it and then moved it in the park, got the overlap, and then another 1-2 again with Rodrigo Gomes on the left-hand side, which he hit it first off. And I'm telling you now, Rodrigo Gomes is going to be a massive player for us this year, because he just seems to play with so much positivity and joy. And I just think if we keep hold of Pedro Neto, and we've got Rodrigo Gomes and Jürgen Strand-Larsen, who's playing up top, who's holding the ball up, he's hassling the defenders, he's causing problems, he's getting in the box, he's drawing players with him, he's creating gaps. And they play with this sort of fluidity and confidence, because the composure that I know it's RB Leipzig and they're probably a week behind in their preparations. They're still a Champions League team. They're a bloody good side. And we made them look ordinary. Sutty.
I just want to agree with all them points. I just want to go back to the back four, Dave, and George saying that he thinks that Dawson will start. I look, we bought Dawson for £3 million 18 months ago, and that was a signing, and he has been absolutely outstanding for us. But he's not the future. Let's be honest. If we start at Arsenal with Dawson, I think that will be our biggest problem. I think they'll tear him a new one. Now, Mosquera and Sutty Gomes have got a combined transfer fee of £4 million. I think we paid £3.5 million for Mosquera and 500,000 from Grasshoppers for.
No, we I think we bought him. We loaned him out to Grasshoppers, didn't we?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we bought him for 500,000. He went to Grasshoppers.
Can you imagine? That's our back central defenders, and they cost us.
Well, what I was going to say to you is, firstly, they're young. They're at the peak now. Secondly, they are both rapid.
Yeah.
Sutty Gomes is deceivingly fast, Dave. Very fast. You can turn him, he'll get back, and he will win the ball. Now, for me, we go back to this rotation of a back five and a back four again for certain games. Dawson will have a place in this squad, obviously. I'm not so sure Dawson's still fully fit. So I wouldn't be. I'd like to see these two young lads get given a start. If we're going to go with a four, given the start, and let's see where we're going to go. Let's be honest. Nobody is expecting anything against Arsenal, right? So if we get something, that's a major positive. I'd rather play Arsenal first game.
Do you know what? I was saying that Arsenal, Man City, any of those, because you see the last 10 games, they're like machines. And there's going to be a lot of expectation on Arsenal that first home game of the season. And so there's, it's not a free hit because no game's a free hit. No. But no one's going to have Wolves down to do that. And, I think like Man United last year, I think we could surprise them.
Well, I'd rather play Arsenal away than Ipswich away first game. Because
they've got that.
I think Liverpool have got Ipswich away, and that's a tough old game. Going back to the friendlies as well, they are important to get minutes for the lads, get them playing in certain systems. It doesn't matter whether you win or lose, but winning becomes a habit, and winning well becomes even more of a habit. Now, we've not really heard too much about anybody going out the door yet, other than Kilman. I do expect others to go. Wouldn't surprise me if two went. But at the moment, it's looking pretty balanced, to be honest. It looks pretty good. And young Rodrigo Gomes, well, he looks the part to me already.
He does.
I think
I'm really excited.
And do you know what I like about him, Dave? Do you know what I like about him? We'll go back to its only friendlies again. I think he scored 3 goals in these friendlies. And you look at his face and how he celebrates when he scores. He's absolutely over the moon. And that means that he likes it here and he wants to be here. And the first thing he said was, I came here because the boss really wanted me. Now, when you feel wanted, no matter what line of work you're in, Dave, whether you're like me, carpenter, joiner, or a professional footballer in the Premier League, if your boss says, I really rate you, you're going to bust a gut to play for him. If your boss never speaks to you, i.e. Bruno Lage, people like that, then if they don't speak to you, Dave, you're not going to put a shift in. Go back to Guedes. Gary O'Neill has asked Guedes to come back. I want to have a look at you and see how you play. He's giving him a chance. Gave him the chance to go out on loan last year to play football, and he's giving him the chance again. We shouldn't write players off so quick. It's really easy to slag someone off and having a bad time. But we've seen players leave Wolves and go on to have very good careers elsewhere. So we've got
look
to
at
show
Patina. Patina's a typical example. Scored
Yeah.
a wonder goal against Chorley.
Rafa Mir, he couldn't hit a barn door over here.
Yeah.
And then he ends up at Sevilla playing in Europa League finals and things like that. But what he said was, he said the pace of the game over here, he just couldn't get to grips with it. You have to give these players time. I think that the first 6 games we've got, as George has said, really tricky games, really tricky. Now, what we mustn't do is press panic buttons if we're languishing down the bottom after 6 games. It's really easy to press panic buttons. You're talking to the master of pressing panic buttons. So we've all got to rein it in a little bit. It's a new manager because he's only had this pre-season. He didn't get nothing last year. So everything he's instilled in him in this last 8 weeks or whatever it is since the end of the last season, we should be seeing. And let's be honest, he didn't do too bad at the beginning of last year with nothing behind him. So we've just got to back him. I think everybody's on board with him, and give him that little bit of time and space. And also, don't get too carried away if we have a flyer, because that will come back and bite us as well. I remember when Nuno went 7 games, sort of end of October to December, and we went 7 games with 1 draw, I think. And I can clearly remember people back then coming out of the ground saying he's got to go, he's not good enough. So you have to just keep it steady, and it should all work out.
Yeah, I think I agree with a lot of what you say there. I think Gary O'Neill did a great job in difficult circumstances last year. He adapted what he was doing. You could see his ideal formation is to play with the back 4. I think what we're seeing in pre-season, we're going to come on to George's thoughts again in a minute, is that you're really starting to see a Gary O'Neill identity of what this team is about. I think his identity is to play that fluid system where, a little bit of a hybrid, playing with the back 4. He wants to be able to play out, but, we've also seen Wolves playing it longer, and Bentley had a good game last night. I know he didn't do great against, made a mistake against Palace, but Bentley did quite well last night. He made 1 good save when he was going the opposite direction. His distribution was calm. He played it long, and we've seen Wolves as well. They played through the middle, they played out the sides, but they also, when they needed to do, they've switched it, which keeps teams guessing. Are they going to play through us? Are they going to play around the side? Are they going to spread it out? They don't really know. And there's obviously key points where they hit the go button on things. And you saw that last night when they passed it around, and all of a sudden the movement was really, really quick interchanges, and it pulls teams apart. And, Gary O'Neill's, it's his first proper pre-season. And I'll really start to think that we'll really start to see a DNA of what a Gary O'Neill team is. And I think that's high press, going as a pack, tenacious, closing down, trying to win the ball back as quick as possible, as high up the park as we can. The higher we pick it up, the more that we're into them. And trying not to give the opposition control of the game. I didn't a bit like England, and you watched a bit of England last year. Obviously, Sutty, you were at the, you went to the final. Dropping off means that teams can just keep coming. That pressure never things in. Eventually, it's going to cost you. You've got to sometimes be brave and play on the front foot. Now, I think, like you, Sutty, and maybe George, I think we probably will concede goals because we'll be trying to play up and we'll lose the ball and we'll get caught. But I think if you're brave and you stick with it, and people know their roles, and we saw the changes as well with the changes that were made, it didn't really impact how Wolves' pattern of play was. Everyone seemed to understand their roles when they came on. So I'm really, really positive about that. We've got one more friendly at the weekend against that Spanish team, and then we're into Arsenal. So still 13 days. I do still think in terms of the transfer window, there's going to be players that are going to come in. I think like what George says, I think we still need another central defender. Obviously, players are going to go out. Maybe Neto will go, but Neto, it's 60 million or get lost. Pay the money or don't. Guedes, if we can find that player that we thought we got, and he has that attitude where he feels part of it and he's looked happy and he fits in and he feels part of the squad. He's a talented player. He's been a bit of a nomad the last 2 or 3 years. Maybe he's had 2 years and he thinks, do you know what? I really want to play in the Premier League. This is my chance, because it's a new management system that he's got under with Gary O'Neill. He's got a new opportunity. It's like a fresh backroom team. It's almost like a fresh club to him. It's a new start. Obviously, I think Podence will go. Fabio Silva is having braids done in his hair and putting stuff on his Instagram. He's kind of bombed out. We need to sell him for what we can get money in. George, on the transfer side of things, mate, who do you think is likely to ultimately go during this window?
I think you've hit the nail on the head when you say, look, if the right money comes in for Neto, I think maybe we've read a little too much into the comments that came out when he was asked. I think he was always going to say that, wasn't he? I honestly thought that it would be Arsenal, to be honest, but it seems like Spurs are coming in a little more for him. I think beyond Neto, we've got to think about the fact that Semedo and Sarabia are both coming into their final year in their contract now. So I don't think they'll go, but we'll have to put some plans in place there. Are we currently negotiating? Because we had that thing with Semedo. I think Semedo's literally one of the top earners, and I think Sarabia is the top earner. So are we gonna let them go for nothing next summer? Are we willing to? They're both getting on. I think Semedo's 30 and Sarabia's 31. So we could be potentially losing 2 players there for nothing. So I think there's interest in Sarabia from like Saudi Arabia. So I think it would be a bad move for him to go, and I don't think he will. But will we be willing to give him another couple of years? Is he going to be happy if we say 1 year extension? I don't think so. So there's a few sticky situations like that I think still to sort out. But yeah, I think Neto for the right money. But the thing that I just don't want to happen, and I'll put this in one of my articles, is out of nowhere last year we had a Nunes gone on the last day. You keep hearing little things sneaking up about Joe Gomes, don't you? And City and sniffing around, and I saw something in Liverpool like him. And what would pain me the most is if he goes late. Obviously, I'm one of his biggest fans, to be honest. I honestly think he would. I think he would start for Man City. I think he goes straight. I think he's that good. I'll put him in top 3 to 5 in the Premier League. He's that good. Nah, Joe Gomez, mate. Because I think he's so central to how we play. We can't. I think last season we had Nunes and we were playing in that free midfield, and he was central to how we were looking to play that season. And then he went on the last day, and then Gary was obviously coming in. And I think that's why a part of why we had the slow start. He had to refine the balance of the team. And I think this is the problem that the teams other than the big 6, this is the problem that they have, is that the big 6, they've got that strength in depth, and they can say, all right, let's see what happens. Let's see how it goes. And then with a week left, they can say, oh, we want him. And if the money's right, they can pay whatever, can't they? But then that leaves us on the back foot, doesn't it? And all the preparation we've put in sort of goes out the window. What would it take? What offer would it take? I think it would be 80 million for Joe Gomez, wouldn't it, to be honest? I think it would be 80 million. Is that going to come in? Probably not this season. Now they've got Rodri. But that would be, for me, that would be the worst case scenario, obviously. I actually think we could we could stand to lose Neto, to be honest, at the minute. From what I've seen from Rodrigo Gomes, if he hadn't come in the way he was, we'd have been in trouble. But if a write-off again, I think he would still go. You know, if we look at our wide options, it looks like Chiquinho's obviously come out and said he'd like to stay again, like we was talking about earlier with the man management that Sutty mentioned. Look what Gary O'Neill's done with someone like Chiquinho and sort of put an arm around his shoulder and said, right, I want you here. I want you to give it a go. And Chiquinho, for me, he's that typical wide man, isn't he? He's an out-and-out winger, and I think some of the other players that have got like to dip inside a little bit and sort of come play through the centre a little more. Whereas he's one of them who can go on the outside when he plays on that right side. So in terms of outgoings, I think we're looking at a major one. It's just going to be Neto. But yeah, Joe Gomez, I would hate to see go. I don't think he's going to, but he's that good. He's that good that I could see a stupid offer coming in.
Interesting.
And that would be, not giving us enough time.
This is something that Sutty spoke about in the past, and that is losing someone really, really late. It's like, unless they've got someone coming in. You've mentioned Chiquinho. I think he's looked really, really positive. He looks hungry. Even when he came on last night, he looked really, really positive for the last 10, 15 minutes. Rodrigo Gomes. We've got some really good attacking players. Neto, when he came on last night, took them apart. I mean, he literally took them apart in the 15 minutes he was on. He's like almost on a different level. Joe Gomez, like you say, he's very key. But like the likes of Neto and Joe Gomez and all of those, we've been sort of managing without them for up to this point in pre-season. But when you add them into that squad as well, you kind of have that extra lift. Sutty, transfer window for you, worst case scenario, best case scenario?
I still think Neto will go. If Neto stays in the Premier League, obviously he'll go to a top 6 side. If he goes to the likes of an Arsenal, he will only be expected to play 25 games in a season, and he possibly could do that. The thing is with Neto at Wolves, when Neto's fit, we flog the dead horse because we haven't never had any depth. So he's always going to get injured playing for us. That's a fact of the matter because he never gets the rest. And we know he's made of biscuits, basically. So, but if he plays one of the top sides with lots of depth, then I think he will be an outstanding acquisition for anyone. But I still want 60 million quid for Neto because, as I keep saying to you all, I haven't said it for a few months because I ain't been on. We are now a self-sustaining football club, and everybody, including Joyce the tea lady, has got their price. So we
makes a nice cuppa though, mate.
Well, she might do, yeah.
Bob, she would.
I'm pretty sure if they could get a fiver for me and you, Dave, they'd have a go at it. But I see Neto going, Podence going, Silva going. I've still got a question mark against Guedes because they've put a lot of time in and he's featured in every friendly.
Yes, yeah.
Getting this bloke playing. Now, they may well be getting him playing to raise his value because Villarreal want him, I'm led to believe. And just as George has said as well, I've got a sneaky feeling that Semedo might go for his last big move for big, big money. Now, I wouldn't have a problem with any of those going because I'm looking at somewhere in the region of 110 million quid. So, and I'm being really conservative there. I want 60 for Neto, but the other 4, if you give me another 50 million for the other 4, then I'll probably take it. 120 million for the lot, but not the last day of the season, Dave. You cannot do that. Your plans have got to be in place now to replace these players because if somebody does come in for Neto and say 60 million, happy days. But your replacement has got to be there. We've got Rodrigo, I know. Same, I think the plus sides of it, Dave, if we can offload Pedence, because he doesn't want to be here, let's just cut our losses on Silva. It's been a nightmare. Nobody can say that it's been good for the club or for the player. The player has absolutely decimated now. He's just not cut out for this level of football. So that would be it for me. Incomings, I do want another centre-back. I'm not so convinced about these two backup keepers, Dave. They worry the life out of me. Tom King must think he's won the lottery on 750 grand a year for basically being a cheerleader. I mean, as I put in the chat page the other day, we could have put Tuber Wolves in there on the bench every week.
He'd do a job as well.
Yeah, he would. Yeah. Well,
I've seen him play.
He filled the goal for a start. But that's not good money spent. Dan Bentley, I think if Arsenal come in with £1 million, I think he's gone. So they will be looking at other keepers. They've got to be. But another centre back for me.
Yeah.
I think Wang and Larson can rotate it up front, so you've got cover there. And there seems to be two for every position at the moment. So, like I say, it's looking more balanced. I agree with George. I'd be gutted if João Gomes went. I told you when Neves went, when everybody was gutted. You can go back and look at it on these. I wasn't, because it was 47 million quid, double bubble, for a player with 1 year left on his contract who'd been outstanding for us. But we'd got the ready-made replacement there waiting. And I said that on here. I said, I'm not bothered. I'd rather have the money. Mm-hmm. Got a few pelters for it, but I actually believe this kid's really special, Dave. We'll do well to keep him. I don't think he'll go this year after the documentary and what have you, unless 80 million gets tabled. But I don't think anybody's going to pay that. If he has another season like he's just had, I think next season we got to start looking for a replacement.
Well, I mean, he walked straight into the Brazilian side and was man of the match against England at Wembley in his first game, and he's sort of like already in the Brazilian squad, young lad, and you've got to be decent to be in there. He's the documentary was really interested. He's very humble from where he's come from in life, and he seems quite level-headed. He's just got a married young family and all of that sort of jazz. He seems settled. I think that's important to him as well at the moment, that being settled at this age. He knows he's still very young. Wolves is going to be part of his career journey. He's not going to be at Wolves forever. The same as Neves. We thought Neves was going to go every year for about 4 years. We had him for 5. And then obviously he went off to Saudi. And, players move on. So as regards to Semedo, he hasn't signed a new contract. Sarabia, I don't think there's a year extension, as Liam said. I think they hit the year extension, and that's it. So it'll be an interesting one with Semedo. He is 30, but he's probably not going to get the same salary offer off Wolves that he is on now because of his age. And then obviously in regards to Sarabia, he is the highest paid player, but he started to look quite good under Gary O'Neill. He seems to have a knack for being in the right place at the right time at the moment. Seems happier as well. So I think this is all down to Gary O'Neill and the backroom team being in place for a year, seeing what needs to be done. Obviously, they brought in the set piece coach as well, been able to have a proper time with the players, where not only are they training, but they're building a social dynamic with them. The bonding that's going on, whilst they're over there. They went to the Everglades and all that sort of jazz. They've done quite a lot together. And that bonding, when you're away in a camp like that, it really brings the players together. They either get on their nerves and can't wait to get out, or they seem quite positive and relaxed with each other. I think that's a really positive sign. Obviously, we've got 2 weeks to go to the start of the season. The transfer window, we've still got 3 weeks. I'm 100% with both what you and George say. I don't want to be losing, an 8 Nori, a Joe Gomes, a Pedro Neto on the last day of the transfer window, and we've got no real way of bringing people in,
Dave,
unless, yeah.
There is Hugo Bueno out on loan, most likely, isn't he? Or there's a lot of talk about him. There's a few offers on the table. I think Feyenoord have come in for him now. So I don't know. I've said personally, I'll put on Twitter, I wouldn't want him to go, regardless of what happens with Aitnori or whatever. I really like him as a backup, and I think he offers decent competition, to be honest. But there seems to be a lot of interest, and I think Leeds have come in as well. And you don't usually get that interest unless there is an availability. Do you know what I mean? So I'm just wondering, it could be a good sign in that Aitnor is going nowhere if the club is sort of looking or listening to options for Bueno. Could be a sign that they're pretty confident that Aitnor.
JS96, we haven't mentioned Chirewa, who's done really well, young lad as well. Probably go out on loan. Luke Cundle's played a couple of games as well. The stuff's gonna happen with them. Right, we're gonna finish this part because we're already on 51 minutes. We're now going to go on to Sutty's favourite subject for the next 5 or 10 minutes, and that is the away kit. The black away kit has been released with the wolf, as you can see there. That's where they're all posing. If you're watching this on YouTube, obviously if you're listening to it on podcast, you won't be able to see that. And there's another one here that we'll put out. This was his. Where is it, Mr. Kuna? Where are we? Here we go. We'll take that, remove that off, and then we'll put. But there's Mr. Kuna, obviously with the Wolves shirt, and in regards to Wolves, have obviously been putting out a comment today. They had a little bit of a fan thing where the players. Can you see this on the screen at the moment? So this is the on the Wolves website now. They had a Q&A. There's Destiny from the women's team over there. Our new captain, Mario Lamina. Some of the fans and stuff like that. This is the pro kit. I went down to the stadium yesterday. The replica kit's in there, not the pro at the moment. But, I'm going to go to you first, Sutty. I know you did the thing and you rated it -10. I think that was not necessarily to do with the design, but because of obviously everything that's gone before. But I want to give you an opportunity to be able to put your points across if you want to on the kit or not.
It's clearly a kit that's been aimed at a world market, Dave. Predominantly an Asian market, I would say. The Asian market seems to like all this dragons and wolves and that sort of thing. I did give it a -10, but that's because of circumstances, Dave.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Now, if that had been without that hideous wolf head on it, not our logo, which is the greatest logo in world football, voted for, might I add. We don't need our name above or below our badge. Everybody knows that's Wolverhampton Wanderers. Had that not been draped all down the side of it, I'd have. That's an absolute banger of a kit. But they've killed it for me. But the reason they've killed it for me, Dave, and I'll say it again, is I do not like how fans were treated in the season ticket debacle only 5 weeks ago, I think it was. I think it's still absolutely disgusting. I know they've come back a little bit with kids' prices and what have you, but I am still seething with them, Dave, at how they've treated over 2,000 fans that can no longer afford to go to a football match and watch their favourite team play. Some of these people, pensioners with over 50 years, going to Molineux to watch a game. It's their only release in life, some people. And for the paltry sum that they have made out of these season tickets, it's absolutely abysmal. Hope Jeff watches this one, because I believe he does watch them. Also, as you know, I'm a member of the trust. We voted on certain things, Dave. I know nobody likes to hear this, but we did vote.
This is the AGM.
We did vote on a merchandise boycott, unanimously, might I add. But when your members actually renegade on their initial votes, you're basically running against a brick wall, flat out with your head, without a crash helmet on. You're never going to win anything if you don't stand your ground as a combined unit to fight a cause. And so that's a little bit of a comeuppance to certain people that decided to vote one way and go the other. I certainly won't be buying it, Dave. My son won't be having it, and he has every kit. He's going retro. He's very happy with going retro, because I will stand by these people that can't afford to go to games anymore. And I just worry that one day we will all be in this. Yes, I have renewed my season ticket. I'll go there and I'll demonstrate accordingly to our illustrious chairman and owner. But I just feel let down, Dave. Let down that we never dug our heels in a bit more, because I think we've missed a huge opportunity here against an owner now that knows that we pretty much back down pretty quick.
Right. Well, I'm going to come back to you on all of those points, and then George, you can come in with your thoughts, because you've raised a few things there, and this is going to be. I'm going to come back with a few things onto this. Obviously, I'm incredibly proud what this channel did alongside all the other podcasts and the trust with the season tickets. With what happened, obviously they went up. Everyone was up in arms, and this channel, along with everyone else, unanimously stood to put pressure on to eventually get the fans advisory board after 3 hours to get obviously a reduction on the under 14s curve back, which was a positive, because young fans coming in are important in terms of growing the future. We all started as kids. And obviously, getting a freeze on adult tickets for next year, we were never going to get really any more than that. I mean, I think you said yourself, there's no way they're going to back down on any of this, because that's not the Chinese way. So it was a win in that respect to get something. And then obviously, I do understand that the trust had a meeting. I was away in Split, so I was unable to go. And I think at that trust meeting, there was probably about a total of 30 people max, of which 10 was probably the board. So a lot of people went to that trust meeting, were probably quite angry people that went, I would say, because they were very passionate about what's happened. And of course, at that meeting, from what I wasn't there, but what I've been told by people that were there was very angry, upset, and there was a proposal to have a boycott. I think various people voted and spoke against it. That was taken at the AGM, and then that then was not a decision that they were going to have a boycott. It was they were going to again, I think, vote for the rest of the members, which I think they did. And initially, I think there was different votes, but I think again on the members' votes that went out, I think it was still around about 70%. But after that, obviously, that vote was taken at a certain point in time with the season tickets. After that, they are painting the stadium. It's not just painting the stadium, because as I think Chris has explained, they have to, because the metal's that grinded, they've got to grind it right back, and then it's not just about putting paint on it; they've got to pull it right back. And we've seen that they spend around 600,000 to 800,000 on that. They've spent in the transfer window, and they've gone early in the transfer window. And the kits that have come out, which we're talking about now, they're the only Premier League club that have reduced their kits. I know it's only £2 on the replica. But obviously with inflation, it's probably a little bit more because, inflation's back down now, but it was up to about 14%. And the Pro kit has come down basically 35 or 45 pounds. That's massive. So Wolves have the cheapest kit in the Premier League. So that's positive. So for me, it's obviously very difficult then with all of that that's happening post the meeting and post the pressure that's been put on by the fans. The boycott fell away. I mean, I'm on the trust group, on the WhatsApp group, and there's people on there that are, the day the home kits come out, that are putting pictures of them with them buying the kit. So the circumstances changed in a bit. I don't think. I mean, I know for a fact I've not forgotten about the season tickets. I've not forgotten about the people that can't do that. But you have to pick your battles, and for me, read the room. And the general consensus was, okay, so we're moving on now. They're doing this. Are they listening or they're not? There's certain promises that have been made on season tickets for next year, such as the freeze in adult tickets, such as the consultation with the Fans Advisory Board. And if they renege on that and they go back on that word, then obviously that's going to seriously raise its head. So obviously people are personally, I believe, are allowed to change their mind.
Absolutely, they're allowed to change their mind, Dave. Everybody within this football club is allowed to change their mind. You don't have to listen to me. You don't have to listen to the board. Everybody in this club is allowed to change their mind. Take that on board, what I've just said. Even the chairman, he can change his mind next season, Dave, and say, we got to put the season tickets up again.
I'll tell you what, mate, if he does...
But he's allowed to change his mind, Dave.
He is, but Wolves, I agree, but I completely agree, but this is black and white that's been said. It's been put on the Wolves website, and I think if he does, he'll really be in trouble because
we assumed in a trust vote, when your chairman's ditching his season ticket in protest, we assumed that everybody in that room, that was a unanimous decision. We assumed that was cut and dry, black and white, Dave. It wasn't.
It wasn't. No.
So don't trust that chairman, Dave, because he can come back next year and say circumstances have changed, unfortunately.
Absolutely, and I think we all agree with that sentiment. The thing that upset me most with Jeff Shee, aside from the season tickets, obviously, you can give up your season ticket. They've sold out again. I think that's really dropped down. So there isn't that big backlog as what they were thinking. But the thing that really got me was the article in the ENS when it was like, if you want to win something or get to Europe, then Wolves might not be the club for you. Now, whether that's lost in translation or not, I do not know. But that, to me, if you take the hope out of winning something, then that's what really got to me. Now, as Jeff's there as a businessman to make the money. They've got they're investing in the squad. Things are going really well pre-season. The kit's going down really, really well. We seem to be playing really well. Things are quite positive, but there's still this bubbling undercurrent underneath that's there, and it's not going to take a lot for things to happen to come bubbling up to the surface. You've always said that the biggest protest that can ever happen, it's not a boycott, it's Molineux, it's the away fan base. They're the ones, if that's where it gets nasty and uncomfortable. So if things continued the way they were going, that was going to bubble up to the surface very, very quickly at Molineux and probably start first of all in the away end and then the South Bank. And we saw what happened to Scott Sellers. So my view is we've sort of had to win that kind of battle. I think everyone should be able to make the decision on the kits and stuff. And I also didn't want division. And we've seen it already on a couple of people that have had because people have buy the kit. I didn't want someone to buy a kit and then be sort of like blackballed because they bought the kit. And we had so much division between the fan base last year because of the Lopetegui and the Jeff Shee thing. And what was being said one end and what was being not said the other end, and there was people getting really upset. I hate arguments and division. I love talking about passionately about things, but I didn't want fans to be other fans getting onto other fans because they bought the shirt. Because at the end of the day, we're all Wolves fans. We're passionate. Me and you, Sutty, we're good mates. I consider me and you to be really good mates, but we have some really good arguments and opposing arguments. But the one thing that we do, and the one thing I've always said to you is, like, regardless of whether I agree with you or not agree with you, you can come and have your say, and we respect each other very, very much. And that's what this channel's all about, to give everyone an opportunity to come on and be as strong or not as they want.
But
so,
yeah, I fully agree with everything you've just said, Dave. But please, in that meeting where the trust went to discuss the season tickets and get a little bit of a U-turn, not massive, but a bit, to help the kids and concessions, right at the death, I know for fact, absolute fact, because I was told by the person that was there, right at the death, he tried to change it back.
That's correct, because I've heard it two.
Do not trust this man as far as you can throw him. Don't be surprised if we come to this time next year again, and we've had a change of circumstances. We've had changes of circumstances for a few seasons now, and bloody hell, last season none of us realised we were going to have to sell 140 million quid's worth of players. Now it worked. It's worked. But do not be surprised if he renegades on what he said. That bit of paper there, Dave, it's worth nothing. And so is the promises he's made until he carries them out.
Exactly. I'm fully, I think we can both agree on that. 100%. I think every single fan, every channel, every podcast, every reporter, I would hope, if that gets reneged on next year, it will be a massive mistake. I was asked recently at the draw for the Football Content Awards. I mean, Jason gave me a right thing about, has Jeff won the fan backs? And I went, he's got a long way to go because of what's happened. There's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of fans that have lost faith in him and stuff like that. I mean, personally, I'm all for bringing in a CEO, and bringing a CEO and let Jeff worry about the bigger picture. But that's for Wolves hierarchy, and I think there's a lot. He's got a lot to do to win the fans back. I think we've, since that's happened, there's been a lot of positive steps, such as with the transfer window so far. Hobbs has done a brilliant appointment. He's got more of a reign. I think the kits, to be fair, are good quality, and they're, compared to the rest of the Premier League, they're very well priced. And I'm wondering whether some of the fan pressure, they changed their pricing on that and actually thought, you know what, we're not going to go down, we're going to drop it down. And I wonder whether fan pressure had some impact on that. Obviously, fan pressure's definitely had a big impact because the fans have been not happy about the state of Molineux and it looking like a tip. And they are working on that. But these are just steps. And there's still a lot of steps that need to be taken. And, I think only time will tell on that, Sutty, when we get to next summer and the prices come out for the season tickets. If they stay the same and they've carried through what they said, then it's like, respect, you've kept your word. If they try and change it, I feel like this boycott or whatever could possibly happen, but we'll see. George, you've sat patiently there on the kit.
That's been interesting. Yeah. No, just on the kit, I think with Jeff, it's just the biggest thing with Jeff is that I think he overestimates why he gets up a lot of fans' noses, because he overestimates his abilities, doesn't he? I think he wants to be at the helm and he wants to make every decision. And he won't delegate. And I don't see him as it's almost as if he wants to he's the ultimate control of the club. And it's that lack of delegation. I think that idea of bringing in a CEO, more of a football man. And I think that article that you referenced briefly, Dave, when you were talking about the free body problem one, and if you don't
aliens.
like it, maybe yeah. I think that sums up a little bit of the problem in terms of the understanding. A lot of these owners who own football clubs in the Premier League, there's more to it than that, isn't there? We all know it. Yeah, I'm from Wolverhampton, and I was from Wolverhampton before. I was from Wolverhampton before Jeff Shee came about and Fosun bought Wolves, and we was in the Championship at the time, and it's something before, it's something bigger than that. It's an identity, and it's this idea that came out in that article that it's just a choice that you can choose to support any team in the Premier League. You just, if you want more success, just go and choose them. And it's these tiny little lines, these little tweaks that shows to me just a lack of fundamental understanding of what football actually is, and what the Premier League is. It's become such a global brand. But what's still at the core of it is fans, isn't it? And it's people from Wolverhampton, it's people from the region, whose granddads and dads, etc., have gone and took them as kids, and that doesn't matter if it's Premier League or Championship or whatever. But it's this glossy Premier League branding, and it was sad to see that he didn't kind of understand that his finger wasn't sort of on the pulse enough to know that's what real football is. And guess what? That's why the Premier League has been able to be so successful, because it's tapped into that, hasn't it? It's tapped into that passion, that emotion that you can't buy. You can't buy that. You can't just go and support someone else and feel the same. And it's that passion that it's kind of sad, isn't it? Because that's what the Premier League have got their claws into, and that is what they sell. That is what they sell. And I think for our chairman not to see that, or to not understand the fan base enough to make that sort of comment, was the most disappointing thing in it for all of me, to be honest. But yeah, on the kits anyway, we've taken a little bit of a step in the opposite direction, haven't we? In essentially sort of manufacturing our own kits for this SUDU, because I read on the website that so Fosun Sports Group, from what I've read, they backed this levy merchandising or whatever. Backed it.
A long video. So there's an investment from Fosun. Levy, obviously Levy, catering or whatever they call. They do a lot of the Premier League clubs. That Vinny's moved over. There's a lot of investment been put in from Fosun into SUDU, and this brand, and they're hoping that this is going to help raise a lot of revenue for Wolves in the long term, if it's successful. All the risk in terms of the financials, from what I've been told, is being taken by Fosun, because if it fails, it's on them. It's not a lot of Wolves money that's going into this, but like if it's successes and it becomes big, like a Castor, who were a disruptor brand, then that could potentially bring in a lot of revenue in the future into Fosun Sports and ultimately Wolves. But obviously Wolves, are the first football team kit that they've done. I think one of the things that you're trying to point to is like your Adidas model, your Umbro. You get you don't get bespoke kits. You get given a choice of the kits, and it's the same as everyone else's, mostly on the whole, unless you're like a United. Whereas with the Wolves kits, they're all bespoke. And by the way, the kits have already been designed for next season already. Because they plan that far in ahead. And Wolves have got a bespoke kit that's designed in consultation with lots of different people, including the players. And I said to Russell at a meeting, I went like, at the end of the day, if you do this and the quality's shit and and it looks crap, the fans will pick out on it because the quality's not good. But like the quality is really, really good quality. Carry on, George, because I know you got more.
Just on that, what you're saying about, I read about that as well. Apparently, the players have had a say, and a lot of people have been consulted. And yeah, the base models, that sort of, if you sign with United Adidas, you get that the base model, and you get a kit very similar to maybe another club, which is obviously we've seen in the past. There was like Castor as well. But what you were saying about that, consulting people around the club, the players, to get this design. I read something on the Wolves website saying that they wanted to bring out the heritage of the region and of the club. Now, it's interesting what Sutty was saying earlier, because he said that he thought it felt very global, which would obviously be the total opposite of that heritage. And when you messaged me, Dave, I personally like the kit, and I do like that wolf embroidery thing. I do like it, just personal taste thing. But it's interesting because the first thing when you asked me, what do you think of it? I said to you, didn't I? I said it's got a very sort of Chinese design feel to it, hasn't it, with that embroidery and that designing. And then Sutty said that, yeah, that sort of same vibe, and the embroidery and the gold. And I said it's got a very Chinese inspired design. And I said, is that, because I said to you, like, I'm not massively clued up on what's going on with the kits, but I said, is that to do with SUDU making it ourselves, and this, that, the other? But it's interesting that, it's more aimed towards that global market potentially. So in a way, has it hit that brief that it said it was going to hit, in as much as this will be about heritage, or is that a sort of narrative? I'm going to throw it out there, I don't know, because it does seem like something that more of a global appeal kit, international, and maybe towards that Asian market. So
do you know what?
I don't know.
I haven't got an issue with that, to be honest. If it's a pitch to a global market, it's definitely appealing to a UK market, because the sales are incredible. I mean, we ran a poll, and I was really, really surprised. I've got to say, I was incredibly surprised, because we saw I think when the leak came out, it was in the middle of the season ticket anger, and everything was negative. But that's the poll. We ran a poll on Always Wolves on our X, Twitter, and it's had over 400 votes. So that's a really good vox pop. And I was gobsmacked that we had 46% liking it, loving it, 33% liking it. That's a 79% approval rating, 15% were unsure, and only 8% hated it. And then obviously when I've done the fans feedback, obviously there's some that don't like it. But the majority were very, very much in favour with it. And then when I've gone down to the shop to talk to people, very, very positive. And that really surprised me, because I thought it'd be a lot more of a Marmite kit, like the old Goodyear tie one. Now, I remember the Goodyear tie one. Everyone hated it when it first came out, and now it's a classic. So we have tried these things, but I'm kind of like I don't absolutely love it. I don't absolutely hate it. I think it's all right. I think if I was going to get one, I'd probably have the Pro. I mean, the replica kit's still good quality, but there's a lot of people. I know people are saying it's a young person's kit, but it's not. I went down the shop, and there were a lot of 40, 50, 60-year-old blokes buying that shirt. Lots of them, as well as young people that were buying it as well. So it was intriguing. Final thoughts, Sutty, on if you want anything else you want to add to this before we move on to the next subject, because we're on an hour and 20.
No, I just won't be buying it, Dave. I won't buy anything this season. I'll stick to my word.
Absolutely. And you know what, mate? Completely respect anyone that wants to take that thing. Absolute respect to anyone that wants to do that. That's absolutely fine. I think fair play to you, mate. Fair play. Right, just on the Content Creators Cup, I do want to tell people a little bit more about that. This is the fundraiser that we're doing for the Wolves Foundation. that we're trying to raise £5,000. The foundation do a lot of good work. They don't get any funding off Wolves as such. They get a bit of funding off the Premier League, and the rest they have to raise themselves. We're trying to raise 5,000. We're on 1675 at the moment. You can see that the Wolves 77 podcast paid their team entry there. There's a few £25. These are all individual players of different teams. If you do want to come to that and watch on the 7th, you can see what Ian Nichols has done here. It's £5 a ticket. Sean, Harvey, and Rory. That's their tickets bought. You don't get any physical tickets, but what you do is you'll have your name on the door at Compton to be able to get in. There's only a limited amount of tickets to be sold, 100 to 120 fans that we can have in to come and watch. So if you do want to go, put your name, put the names of the people that are coming, put the word tickets, £5 a person, and then you'll be guaranteed to be able to get in. Obviously, if you can't go, and you can support by making a donation, the link to this is in the description below this video, and I will put it up there as well. It's basically, we're doing our best. I've managed to get we've got the old gold pack, we've got the Wolves Report, WCRFM, the Wolf Pack, Wolves Media Team, we've got the Wolves Foundation, we've got ourselves, we've got Fancast, we've got the guys from Talking Wolves and the 1877 Club podcast, all coming together to play this 7-a-side tournament, and it's actually in the Dome at Compton. So you get to see all your favourite content creators play a competitive fixture without anyone getting hurt in a friendly way. But if you can't go, what time's the event? Well, it's going to run probably kick off about 11 o'clock. There's 2 groups of 5 that they've already been drawn. I've probably got the draw for you here. If I've still got that, is that the draw? That's the 2 groups that we've got, and it'll start around about 11 a.m. We haven't finalised the timings yet, and it will run up until we finish, because the top 4 go into quarterfinals, and then it goes from there. And we're also looking for companies that would be interested in sponsoring the event. So we can help raise some money, and any company that sponsors can get a nice advert in a 16-page program that will be done on the day. So yeah, that's my little plug for that. I've also got Carl, that if Carl wants to post, we've got one of our members is running the Always Wolves Fantasy Football League, because that's coming up. I know some of you love those. The link to our fantasy football team, not fantasy football link for our league, is also in the description below this video. Absolutely. Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate any donations and appreciate that. So yeah, Sutty, the foundation and George do a lot of good work, don't they, for so many people, disability for young kids, people with dementia, mental health. Maybe you just want to add a few words on that about the work the foundation do before we move on.
Well, yeah, they
basically
raise loads of money for worthy causes outside of the club, Dave. With other charities as well. We all know that cost of living, homelessness, all of these things, kids clubs, all sorts of things, disabilities, they basically fund and give funds to a lot of these things in and around Wolverhampton. It's not just the football club. They help out with a lot of things. So very, very worthy cause. George?
Yeah, just very similar to what Sutty said. I think we've just got to keep, obviously, raising as much as possible, keep it at the forefront. So I think one of my favourite things from last season was, the little halftime games where and the fans got really invested. I think things like that, the club have got to keep doing things like that with the foundation. And little things like what we're doing are only going to help to keep it at the forefront, really. And that's what it's all about, because we all know the good causes that need the funding, don't they? You know what I mean? The money doesn't grow on trees, and it's difficult to get this day and age. But everybody's got to sort of keep doing stuff, keep it there, keep it going. So, yeah.
Okay, well, that's absolutely. Emma's made a comment here, our producer. The money goes directly to the foundation. They're separate to the club. They run their own finances. Wolves are allowing us to use Compton as a venue for the event. So, yeah. So, it's not just about money being put in. It's about we are being able to use the actual training ground to run this event. And the Wolves media team are putting in a team as well, which they'll pay £250 to take part. That's the guys that do the, all the stuff in the media team will be there as well. So that's going to be good. We just need a few sponsors to come in, and that will really
Someone's
help.
put in the comments, Dave. Sorry, someone's just put in the comments. Anything officially from the club? Is that something that you've, as in, like the Wolves? Are they going to be putting anything in? A donation directly from the club?
What you can imagine with Wolves, they will have lots of requests for lots of things in terms of foundation. The foundation run their own finances separately. The club have donated the use of, we've got the use of Compton. And all of that sort of stuff. The Wolves media team are also going to be taking part, and there'll be 250 quid coming from them. So whether Jeff Shee's going to be playing for the media team or not, or I don't know. But if that was the case, I'm sure Sutty would come down.
I'll play centre half, Dave, if he's playing.
Sutty would play centre half. Absolutely brilliant. But listen, we are grateful for the club for the use of Compton. So they are supporting in along with the foundation in that way. So look, we've got over 600 of you watching live on the channel. So look, if you are new and you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. It helps us. We're getting very close to 34,000. Just help us along then. I think we're on, at the moment, we are on 33,670. We're only 30 short of that 700. So I appreciate that. We've just gone over the 100 likes on YouTube as well. So absolutely fantastic. I do want to give a little bit of a plug to whilst I'm on. Let me just put this up on the screen for you as well. I do want to give you a little bit of a plug. Always Wolves website. If you can see that, that's up there. So I just want to scroll down. We've got transfer roundups, but here is one of George's recent articles, which is from us, a call for progress investment in Wolves women's team. And George has done a really interesting article, in-depth historical context, club ambitions and support, the broader picture, what next for Wolves, and that's been all put together, I think, by that's yours, isn't it, George? Is that right, George? Has he froze?
I think he's froze.
Yeah, and he's got lots of other articles on there as well. So check that. He's kind of froze. The next couple of weeks, Sutty, what we're thinking?
Well, it'd be nice to go back to Molyneux and get inside the ground. Seems a long time. Last game of football I went to was the final in Berlin Stadium. So let's hope we have a better result than that one. I think we'll win.
Are you down at the friendly?
Yeah.
So hopefully see you there.
And I'm looking forward to going down to London for the Arsenal game. So let's just hope for positive performances that lead to positive results.
Absolutely. George, we lost you there. I was just telling people about your articles on the website. And we've got Roden here who's saying, well done, George, for your articles as well.
Cheers, mate.
Sutty was just saying, I was just asking about the next week. He's looking forward to the friendly, looking forward to going to the Arsenal game.
No, I could hear you. You just couldn't hear me.
Hear you. So, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Sutty, yeah, I've got my tickets for Arsenal. I am really looking forward. I am really looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to. I am actually looking forward to getting to Molineux next week. Obviously, it won't be sold out. It's the friendly, but more interestingly, to get a first eye, a real, in-person view of what's been going on in training. It'll be the first chance, won't it, for us to have a proper look? And I'm guessing George, are you going to the friendly as well?
Yeah, I'll be at the friendly, mate. Yeah.
So, what are you looking forward to over the next couple of weeks?
I think exactly like you said, seeing it in the flesh, mate. I feel like that last friendly before the start of the season, though, I feel like it never seems to go well for some reason. That last friendly we always have at Molineux. But yeah, just continuing on and hoping, like I said at the start of this, that we get the rewards for what we've been putting into play in pre-season, and I don't want to see us have to revert back to get the results just to stop the panic. What you were talking about earlier with O'Neill and his style of play, I thought that was great because at the end of the day, I think he's still figuring it out, and I think it's great for us because I think he's so versatile and he's so sort of fresh, isn't he? I think he's adaptable. He's a man manager, and he's not one of these who's stuck and stubborn in his ways. He'll learn and he'll try things, and sometimes it won't come off. But what I'm most looking forward to this season would in the early days is seeing O'Neill actually get a chance of coming off the back of a pre-season to put a style of play in place. You look at him at Bournemouth. He came in after Scott Parker got sacked, didn't he, after a few games, and he had to do what he had to do to get the results, didn't he? A lot of people saying that he was lucky that season and stuff like that. But he hasn't. This is only his third season, isn't it, in management? I don't think he has yet truly decided or figured out his style. But I think that could be exciting as well because I think he's adaptable and I think he's versatile, and I think we're going to get to see the benefits of that. He tweaked things last season for different games, but I think he speaks so well in the interviews and in his analysis. I think what's great to see is that he's a really intelligent man, isn't he? And he's a proper student to the game. And I think give him what is he 40? Give him another 10 years. He's gonna be up there with the best of the best. I mean, they say there's a lack of English coaches, don't they, in the game at the minute? Well, Gary O'Neill's one who pretty much you can almost guarantee he's gonna rise to probably be one of, if not the top English coach at some point in his career, if he's not already close to getting to that point now. But it comes down to the way he sees the game, isn't it? And I think we can be excited by that because he's a proper student to the game.
I think we should be excited. I think Gary O'Neill has always said, I think one of the things is that's where he wants to be and how he wants us to play. And then he looks at every team, and if he has to alter it, he will with the opponent. But I think the one thing that now he's had a proper pre-season, I think the team bonding's going really, really well. You can see that. I think we're starting to see an identity and a DNA, and I think that's something that we've struggled to have. And if that identity and DNA means that we're going to be tenacious, we're going to be hungry, we're going to go for teams as a pack, and we're going to be brave as well, then I think it could be an exciting season. We might lose some games 4-3, maybe. But I think this team have got so much ability and talent. And I also think, Sutty, one of your big things, that this year, when we look to the bench, we might have a bench of depth.
Can I just say one more thing before the end, Dave?
Yeah.
2 years ago, there was a manager of a top club, and I think they lost their first 5 games. And their fan base destroyed him, publicly destroyed him. He's got to go. They're a very vocal fan.
Arteta.
Yeah. and they were distraught. He's got to go. He ain't got a clue. Arsenal will win the league this year. Arsenal will win the league this year.
Fantastic. Well, they can win the league, but we're having at least a point off them on the first day. That's all I'm going to say.
Fingers crossed.
Listen, guys, it's been a brilliant today. Thank you for so much that so many of them was watching us. Say over live, we've got over 600 watching live, which is crazy to think 600 people all over the world watching. Sutty, I really do think that you've nailed the yellow. I think that works for you. I think, very good. I think pulled it off. And George, have you enjoyed your full debut?
Yeah, mate. Loved it. Thanks for having me on.
Fantastic.
Appreciate you asking me to come on, mate. It's been brilliant.
Check out George's articles on alwayswolves.co.uk. We are looking for a couple more writers that can do match reports or things on the thing. So if you're interested in finishing off our team, get in touch with us via admin at alwayswolves.co.uk or by our socials and speak to Emma. And George, we're absolutely delighted to have you as our senior writer, mate. You're doing a brilliant job.
Cheers, mate.
And George will be back throughout the season as we get to the panel debates and the phone-in show on Extra Time. We've got one more on the ball next week. We'll have a separate couple of fans on next week. And then we're back to Extra Time where we'll be having lots of fans coming on, debating the weekend's action. From myself, George and Sutty, to wherever you are in the world, thanks for joining us. If you're watching this back on catch up on YouTube, leave some comments and we'll reply to those. If you're listening to it on the podcast, wherever you're driving, I know people listen to it on the way to work in Australia and places like that, which is always crazy to me. I hope you've enjoyed this one. It's been a brilliant, brilliant show. And from myself, George and Sutty, always Wolves.